Hello, I'm Veshkivu and I'm developing One Way Dungeon, and I'll be showing you how I can go from this to this by simply editing a JSON file. This video will show you how I have set up and used a data-driven approach to configure all of the game's elements. I'll be creating a new dungeon level, a new monster, and a new move with some effects. This is a small sample of my DB script. It's an auto-loaded script that runs before anything else in the game. I start by parsing the JSON file, and I now use some functions to validate and organize the data. Here we have the Move Template class. The data is transformed into templates, which then are used to instantiate actual game logic classes. And here is the function that generates all the Move templates. Here is a sample of the JSON file. For clarity's sake, I'll be creating the new content here, then copy-paste it into the final file. First, I have a bunch of constants used for the battle and damage algorithms. Then I have the attributes of the player at the beginning of a new game. Here I configure each of the dungeon's levels. Let's create a new one. We'll start by copy-pasting the existing one and changing what we need. I have the materials for the walls, ceiling and floor already configured in Godot. In Flow, I configure what monsters appear at each step of the dungeon level, and the probability of facing each of them. Now let's create the new monster. In Moves, I also configure the probability of each move being used by the monster. Once again, the sprite is already configured in Godot. Let's add the Godot icon as the sprite. Here we can configure the new move. We'll make it a physical move, and it has two effects: multi-hit and new poison. I'll be creating new poison in a bit. And let's set the animation to be the same as the one in Tackle. This is where I configure the move effects. They have a type. At the moment I have attribute change, multi-hit and ongoing. The ongoing type will attach an ongoing effect on the character, which we'll be seeing in a moment. Another interesting field is time. It specifies if the effect happens after the default move logic runs or instead of that logic. Now let's create our new poison. This effect has 100% chance of poisoning the enemy, and the ongoing effect that is attached is also going to be different. Let's create the new ongoing effect. Ongoing effects, once again, have a type and a time. This time, an instead effect means that the effect will execute instead of the normal turn action. If we examine the paralysis effect, we see that it will replace the character's turn and do nothing. Ongoing effects also have a duration, determining how many turns they are active until fading away. But let's create our new effect. I'll make it last less time and deal less damage. And it's all set up. I'll just copy paste it into the real JSON file and we'll see the changes. Let's try it out. The new dungeon level is in the list. You can see the new walls and floor. We're facing a Godot bot, which uses Godot Punch. It's a multi-hit move and poisons the defender. As you can see, it's pretty easy to create new dungeon levels, monsters and moves. This approach allows me to iterate over content very fast. The only things I need to go back to the Godot editor for is to set up sprites and animations. It's a file that is always open in my editor. I mess around with it all the time. And even my debug scenes refer to this data, so it's easy to check and tweak if a new move or monster is working as I want to. I still need to write code once in a while, but it exists in a modular fashion and is easy to compose to create new and fun moves. If you want to know more about One Way Dungeon, you can check the latest build in vishkivudev.gitlab.io/oneway-dungeon or follow me on Twitter @vishkivudev. Every Friday there's a new build and a new blog post. See you then.